You know, there's a reason you're here right now watching this video. It's not random. It's not just chance. Whether you fully realize it or not, God chose you. Think about that for a second. Out of all the people in the world, out of all the possible ways your life could have unfolded, you're here in this moment with a purpose. And that's not a small thing. It's a calling, a divine invitation to step into something bigger, something extraordinary. But here's the thing: many of us, despite being chosen, are held back. We have this incredible potential, this limitless possibility within us, and yet we get stuck. Why? It's not because we aren't capable. It's not because we aren't deserving. It's because we keep making the same 5 mistakes over and over again, and those mistakes are like chains, keeping us from stepping into the life God intended for us. These mistakes are subtle. They creep in without us even realizing it, and they sabotage our growth, our purpose, our destiny. Today, I want to talk about these mistakes because once you see them, once you understand how they're holding you back, you can break free. You can start living the life you were chosen for. Let me ask you this: do you ever feel like you're meant for more, but you just can't seem to get there? Like you're watching your life from the outside, knowing that something greater is possible, but no matter how hard you try, you just keep hitting the same obstacles, the same walls. That's the first mistake right there. You're relying too much on yourself and not enough on the divine guidance that's been given to you. You see, when God chooses you, He doesn't just throw you into the world without a map. The problem is, we often ignore that map. We think we have to figure everything out on our own. We think we have to grind, hustle, push ourselves to the breaking point. But what if I told you that the very act of trying to control everything is what's holding you back?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
God didn't choose you because He thought you were perfect or because you had it all together. He chose you because of what you can become through His guidance. But here's the catch: you have to listen. You have to surrender that need for control and trust that the path will unfold, even if you can't see it right now. That's the first big mistake, thinking you have to do it all on your own. You don't. But let's dive deeper into something even more insidious: the second mistake. And this one, let me tell you, it's a big one. You're holding on to fear. And I don't mean the obvious fears, like fear of failure or fear of rejection. I'm talking about deeper fears, the ones you don't even realize are there. You see, when God chooses you, He's asking you to step into something that's far beyond your comfort zone. He's asking you to walk a path that's unknown, that's uncertain, and that's scary. But instead of facing that fear, most of us ignore it. We bury it. We pretend it's not there, and we keep going through the motions of life, never really stepping into the fullness of what we're called to do. Let me ask you this: what are you afraid of? What's the one thing that, if you admitted it to yourself, would change everything? Because until you face that fear, until you acknowledge it, it will keep holding you back. Fear is like a shadow that follows you everywhere, and no matter how fast you run, it's always there. But here's the thing: shadows disappear in the light. Once you bring your fear into the light, once you look at it directly, it loses its power. And that's when you can start moving forward. Now, I want to talk about the third mistake, and this one might sting a little. You're too focused on what other people think. You're living your life based on the expectations of others, your family, your friends, society, and because of that, you're not living the life you were chosen for. You're living someone else's version of what your life should look like. And that's a tragedy. You see, when God chose you, He didn't choose you to fit in. He didn't choose you to follow the crowd. He chose you because He has a unique purpose for you, a path that only you can walk. But the problem is, we get so caught up in seeking approval, in wanting to be accepted, that we start molding ourselves to fit into a box that was never meant for us. And that's the third mistake, letting the opinions of others dictate your path. What would your life look like if you stopped trying to please everyone around you? What if you trusted that the path God has for you is the right one, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else? That's the kind of boldness you need to step into the life you were chosen for. But it's not easy, is it? It's hard to let go of that need for approval. It's hard to stand out, to be different. But you weren't chosen to blend in. You were chosen to stand out. So, we've talked about the first 3 mistakes: relying too much on yourself, holding on to fear, and being too focused on what others think. But now, let's take it even deeper. Let's talk about the invisible chains that are holding you back, the chains of self-doubt and disconnection. These are mistakes 4 and 5, and they're the most dangerous because they're often the hardest to see. Self-doubt. It's that little voice in your head that whispers, "Who do you think you are? You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not strong enough." We all hear it. We all deal with it. But here's the thing, self-doubt is a lie. It's a lie that keeps you from stepping into the life God has chosen for you. When God chose you, He didn't make a mistake. He didn't pick the wrong person. But self-doubt makes you question that. It makes you question whether you're really meant for this. It makes you shrink back, play small, and settle for less than what you're capable of. But here's the truth. You are enough. You are capable. You are chosen. And it's time to start living like it. It's time to silence that voice of self-doubt and start trusting in the divine plan that's been laid out for you. Let me ask you this: how many opportunities have you missed because you doubted yourself? How many dreams have you let go of because you didn't think you were worthy? It's time to stop letting self-doubt run your life. You were chosen for a reason, and it's time to start believing that. But there's one more mistake we need to talk about, and it's a big one: disconnection. Disconnection from God, from your purpose, from yourself. You see, when God chooses you, He's inviting you into a relationship, a partnership, a co-creation. But the mistake we often make is that we disconnect from that. We get so caught up in the busyness of life, in the distractions, in the noise, that we lose sight of that connection. We stop listening. We stop seeking. And when you're disconnected, you can't hear the guidance that's being given to you. You can't see the signs. You can't feel the support that's always there. So let me ask you, when was the last time you truly connected? When was the last time you sat in stillness, in silence, and just listened? Because that's where the answers are. That's where the guidance is. It's not in the hustle. It's not in the striving. It's in the stillness. It's in the quiet moments when you surrender and allow yourself to be guided. Disconnection is one of the biggest mistakes we make, and it's holding you back from stepping into your full potential. But the good news is you can reconnect at any moment. You can choose right now to open yourself up to that divine guidance, to that divine partnership. And when you do, everything changes. The path becomes clearer. The obstacles become smaller. The doubts start to fade. That's the power of connection. Now that we've identified the 5 mistakes that are holding you back, let's talk about how to overcome them. And it all starts with one word: surrender. I know surrender sounds like giving up, like weakness. But in the spiritual sense, surrender is the most powerful thing you can do. Surrender is not about quitting. It's about letting go of the need to control every aspect of your life and trusting that there is a higher plan at work. You see, God chose you not because you're perfect, but because He has a plan for your life that's bigger than anything you could ever imagine. But here's the catch: you won't be able to see that plan if you're constantly trying to control everything. You won't be able to step into your purpose if you're always second-guessing, always doubting, always trying to figure it all out on your own. Surrender is about trust. It's about trusting that the path will unfold, even if you can't see the whole picture right now. Let me ask you, how much energy are you wasting trying to control things that are out of your control? How much time are you spending worrying about the future, about how things will turn out, instead of trusting that it's already taken care of? Surrender is not about being passive. It's about being active in your faith. It's about taking steps forward, even when you don't have all the answers. It's about moving with the flow of life, instead of fighting against it. And here's the thing: when you surrender, when you stop trying to control everything, you create space for miracles to happen. You create space for divine intervention, for guidance, for the unexpected blessings that are waiting for you. But you can't receive those blessings if your hands are clenched tight, holding on to control. You have to let go. You have to trust. But trust isn't easy, is it? Trust requires vulnerability. It requires you to admit that you don't have all the answers, that you can't do it all on your own. And that's scary. But it's also liberating. When you trust, you free yourself from the burden of having to figure everything out. You free yourself from the weight of the world that you've been carrying on your shoulders. And that's when things begin to shift. That's when the breakthroughs happen. So how do you surrender? How do you let go of control and trust in the divine plan? It starts with a decision to stop fighting, to stop resisting, and to start flowing. A decision to trust that you are exactly where you're meant to be, even if it doesn't look like it right now. It's a decision to believe that everything is happening for your highest good, even if you can't see it in the moment. But here's the key: you have to make that decision every day. Surrender is not a one-time thing. It's a daily practice of letting go, of trusting, of allowing. And the more you practice surrender, the easier it becomes. The more you trust, the more you see the evidence of divine guidance in your life. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Now that you understand the power of surrender and trust, it's time to talk about stepping fully into your divine purpose. Because here's the thing: God didn't choose you just to survive, just to get by, just to live a mediocre life. He chose you because you have a purpose, a mission, a destiny that is uniquely yours. And it's time to step into that. But how do you do that? How do you step into your purpose when you've been held back for so long by these mistakes? It starts with clarity. You have to get clear on what your purpose is. And that clarity doesn't come from your mind. It doesn't come from thinking or planning or strategizing. It comes from your heart. It comes from within. Let me ask you, what lights you up? What makes you feel alive? What are the things that you're passionate about? The things that you would do even if you weren't getting paid for them. Those are the clues to your purpose. Your purpose is not something outside of you. It's not something you have to go out and find. It's already inside of you, waiting to be uncovered. But here's the thing: you can't step into your purpose if you're still holding on to those 5 mistakes. You can't step into your purpose if you're still trying to control everything, if you're still letting fear hold you back, if you're still seeking approval from others. You have to let go. You have to trust. You have to surrender. And once you do, once you release those chains, you'll find that your purpose starts to reveal itself. It starts to become clearer. The path starts to unfold in front of you. And that's when you can start taking action. That's when you can start living the life you were chosen for. But here's the final question: are you ready? Are you ready to step fully into your purpose, to live the life God chose for you? Because it's not going to be easy. It's going to require courage. It's going to require faith. It's going to require you to step into the unknown, to trust in the unseen. But I promise you this, it will be worth it. Because when you step into your purpose, you step into the fullness of who you are. You step into a life of meaning, of fulfillment, of impact. And that, my friend, is the life you were chosen for.